What is going on, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. It's Sunday night. That means this is at week's end. And tonight we're doing the spoiler special, this time for Dune Part 2, what's sure to be one of the biggest, best movie events of the year. And we're just getting started with 2024. We're going to dive right into that and a lot more. But first, this. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Mark.
Before we get started, I got some announcements we want to make. Be sure to give a big shout out to Big Time Collectibles. Check them out on their website. You can find them on social media. They're always doing amazing things. And if you need anything cleaned or pressed, you can hit up Justin over on Instagram. You can find the link in the description of all my videos. Big announcement. HeroesCon 2024 is this year, June 14th through 16th. Comicx Curing Cancer will be there. Myself, DJ Links, Rob Fat Sacks of Comics will have a booth will be set up. We'll have some amazing special stuff happening at that. But you don't have to wait till HeroesCon to start participating, helping with Comicx Curing Cancer. You can go ahead and donate today. You can also spread the word, follow on Instagram to keep up with all the announcements and everything's going on with that. This isn't just a HeroesCon event. There's going to be other things going on with Comicx Curing Cancer this year. And to tell us about it, we have a special guest.
Hey, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Paul. Comicx Curing Cancer. Actually, this Friday, we are on In the Mix, 9 p.m. We are going to kick off Comicx Curing Cancer with some special announcements of things we got coming. One of the things we got coming that's in the pipeline will be at King Con, happening in Jersey on April 6th. C3 will be represented there, as well as the 3 Men in the Basement comic swap happening May 18th. And of course, everyone will be at HeroesCon. So make sure you come out. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, DJ. And in case anyone was wondering, that was not rehearsed or prompted.
Hey.
that went smooth. We had to clip that.
And then there's something on Rob's on Saturday, and then yours on Sunday, right?
So for this year, for any and all HeroesCon announcement, we're going to make sure it gets posted on the Instagram page for C3. So you always want to follow the C3 Instagram page just because. I mean, that's the point of us making that page. But any and all announcements will roll out on In the Mix on Fridays, followed by Only Slabs on Saturday, followed by right here on At Week's End. So between the three of us, it'll get announced at least one day out of each weekend day. So that's like just trying to spread the word like butt cheeks. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Also, finally, channel memberships are live. Get loyalty badge next to your name, custom emojis, all that good stuff. It's a great way to support the channel, as well as checking out some of the merch store down below. Speaking of merch store down below, we have a special guest with us tonight to discuss Dune 2. None other than J-Med himself. First time on stream. You've seen him in chats. Fantastic community member, fantastic individual, wildly in tune with movies. He's got a very, very good eye for cinema. So I'm like, dude, this is the guy that we need to get on with us Sunday night to talk Dune. And after twisting his arm, threatening him, and calling in a bumper, he decided to come on by. So I'm glad he can make it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Most of that is true. Some of that is just a bold-faced lie, like 90%. Everything but the bomb threat. Everything but the bomb threat was true. That was a lie.
We're like 5 minutes in, and we already had 3 bomb threats.
Yeah, exactly.
And
4 now.
And Nick was supposed to be here tonight, but he's feeling less than fresh. So
and that wasn't a threat at his place.
No, maybe. So we will have another guest popping on here in just a little bit to fill his shoes. You won't be able to tell the difference.
Fill his slippers.
The other. Yeah, fill his slippers. I want to say hey to the chat real quick, super fast. Las Crucius, what's happening? Comic Bet, hello. Billy, how's it going? Scott, Dr. Von Hoot. I know Dr. Von Hoot saw the movie yesterday. It was cool getting to see some of his early reactions in some of the chat. Trev, what is happening? And hashtag not Nick is here. We have leveled up. We've traded up. We've got none other than Mr. Cliff on Comics. What is going on, brother?
Hey, Cliff!
hey.
That's very sweet. I wouldn't call it a trade up. I just call it a trade in.
You don't have to deal with Nick as often as we do. This is definitely a trade up.
Yeah. What are you doing Friday nights at 9?
Case card. What's going on? House of L, how are you? Seth 11, what is happening? Good to see you. Try not to skip anybody. Blah, 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 blah. Hell, yes, I did. He's a bomb. All right. So Cliff, how are you doing tonight?
Great.
So before the stream is over, I do want to say...
Would you care to elaborate on that?
DVH! Come on, buddy.
Well, before the night's over, since it is a spoiler special show, I picked up this awesome hardback, like matted cover. Boom Studio puts out Dune tie-in comics that I feel like they're more in tune with the books, but they do like all the different houses, and I found House Harkonnen this past Friday. So I picked up 2 copies of this, one for myself and one to give away tonight. So if you want to dive further into the world of Dune and get some more backstory of these characters and stuff, I've already started reading mine. It's actually ridiculously vast, and it added so much to the movie because I went back and watched the movie, the first one again, since I saw the second one, and so many little details. There's so much you can pick up on in this, but we'll be giving that away.
Aren't they written or co-written by one of his sons, I think, or something?
No,
Yeah.
the first 6 books are all him, and then the continuation is his son.
No, I mean the comics.
Yeah, Brian Herbert himself
Yeah.
is doing the comics. So yeah, they're very on point. It seems like. We got J Med in the chat. What's up, buddy?
I'm confused. I thought we were here to talk about Duke.
Oh, I might have hit a typo. Classic me. Classic me.
Brutal.
Put all the G.I. Joe stuff back in the box.
Yeah. I will say that this thumbnail worked out perfect for the way that the stream is stacked as well. We got Paul just hanging out right there. But the way all of these...
These are Paul Atreides tonight?
Yeah, I guess so. The way all of these work whenever we do these spoiler specials, I like to go through right off the rip and just get everybody's their rating. Everyone has a different rating system, the way they rate movies, whether it be on a scale of 1 to 5, handies to no handies, rings, whatever. But we just go around the horn and give it your rating. It's no secret, at all. Like for me, this movie is super green. Like it doesn't get greener than this on the scale of red to green. It is super green. Cliff, where did you rate this on your personal movie rating scale?
Around an 8.5.
Paul?
I like it. I like some things it did, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I think I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. I think probably 8 rings out of 10.
DJ?
I think I give it out of 5 air horns. So
perfect.
It's a perfect score for him in my estimation.
J-Med, what do you give it?
This is an interesting question. I think my fan score for this movie is up there, super high. I think this is what movies should strive to look like, be like, theater experiences. So I would give it a green 5 out of 5, probably a 9 out of 10, 9.5. But I do think I have 2 or 3 different reviews of the film.
Yeah, in all sincerity, go ahead and just give us your ratings for those too, and we can break them down from different perspectives as we go. But just because I love the fact that you're able to separate it, because I do that with Madam Web. Cinematically, I give it a 0. But going into it, watching it ironically.
Are we talking about Madam Web?
No, I'm saying I can watch that movie and have fun and still recognize it's probably the worst slice of cinema I've ever seen in my life. So I like the fact that people can separate quality from entertainment, like watching it critically or watching it from a fan perspective. So what other way would you rate this?
Fascinated by how Mark's brain works. And we'll come back to that.
We will.
I'll this is foreshadowing. I'll give a tease. I'm learning from DJ on this. Give some tease for the stream, but I would say if I was writing a PhD dissertation at a film school, evaluating this film, I think I would say my thesis would be this should have been 3 movies and not 1 5.5-hour movie. And you keep hearing these reviews on this film where it says the second film is this, the second film is that. It's not a second film. It's 1 5.5-hour movie. And we know that because literally in the first scene, we are continuing the previous scene. It doesn't actually make sense if you don't have that context, because Paul doesn't have a knife and the Harkonnens are literally coming over the hill and he has to run to get a blade. And you're thinking, why doesn't this dude have a weapon? They're about to be in a fight. It makes absolutely no sense. It's because it's literally a continuation of the scene before it. So it's 1 5.5-hour movie. And when you're looking at it through that lens, I think in actuality, it's kind of 2.5 movies. And I think you could divide it into 3 and you could hit all the marks on it. So that's like a kind of joking kind of way of saying, if I was trying to get my PhD in film studies, my thesis would be this should have been 3 films, and I'll break it down at the end. We can just give me a little runway, and I'll elaborate as to why that is the way that it is.
Well, let's just pick it up and run from there. Go ahead, DJ.
I'd like to downgrade my score to 2 air horns now.
Yeah, and I'd like to. If we're able to separate things, I would like to say that from a cinematic experience, I would give it a 10. This was an epic movie. And it needs to be seen on a large screen. It's like Lawrence of Arabia, all those great epic movies from the past. This is an epic movie to watch.
So funny you mentioned Lawrence of Arabia, because Lawrence of Arabia actually hurts my viewing experience of part 1.
Are you saying Arabia or Labia?
Arabia.
Okay, that makes more sense. So let's just pick it up and run with that. Just like the opening, like the transition from the last movie to this one. Dude, it really does set the tone with how they do like the throat singers that do the quotes in the opening of both of these movies. It really just makes you uneasy going into it, and it does it with like the all black screen with just the translated words. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic how it started it, like you said, with helpless Paul. Like I think that's massively important to the entire narrative of this story plot. And this is that we start with a completely exposed, out on a dune, like powerless, helpless Paul Atreides and his mother. And like I thought that was a great start, because immediately like we're on the move. You know, it did great favors to the pacing of the film too, starting like that.
Yeah, he's saved by his mom in that first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote that his mom gives, like as soon as she destroys that Harkonnen with the rock, she comes down the dune and says, "Told you not to turn your back to your enemy," which was a reoccurring thing that was told to him during his training with Gunny, or what's his name?
Gurney.
Danussi for life. There we go. Lady Fantastic got one of the buckets, the Danussi buckets.
I actually haven't seen the bucket, to be honest.
In real life?
No, you haven't seen it in real life? I was like, did you not see the picture I dropped off in the group chat?
Oh, that was the bucket?
That was the bucket, yeah.
I thought you were switching teams.
No, that dude was lubing up the bucket, and if you look at the fine print, you would know where to find him on Twitter at OnlyFans.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then right off the bat, they also start really expanding this universe. We start diving into tons of new characters. They introduce us directly to the Emperor, as well as his daughter, who are major players in the franchise. And I'm super curious about this. What is everyone's thoughts on the Christopher Walken casting choice? Because I think he did good in the part. I just don't know if he fit this movie at all.
Yeah, I think I would have went with someone else. I would have went with someone else that brought like a more regalness to the role. Like Christopher Walken is like, it's Christopher Walken. I don't know. I couldn't separate the Emperor from Christopher Walken. Yeah,
me too. And when I heard what he said, all I heard was, "I need more cowbell."
My mom just messaged me to say -1 just won the Oscar.
Yep, just beat it. And it's visual effects, and Godzilla -1 won.
Well deserved.
I was telling DJ the only one that I really care about tonight is that category. I want to see Godzilla or Mission Impossible win it.
Godzilla just won the award.
All right, so Trev says it was a wasted casting choice, and I can definitely roll with that, because some of these have been like iconic, in my opinion, potential career-defining roles for some of these people. And Christopher Walken is not going to have a role like that again in his career. He's already done it 10 times over, and I feel like he can only be Christopher Walken in a movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Funny, Lady Fantastic says it would have been cool to see Patrick Stewart as the Emperor. That would have been actually a kind of connection to the first movie, because he was in the first movie.
Cool.
I did like how they used his daughter to narrate. That's how, if you guys remember, that's how the original film starts back in the day. She just opens up and gives you kind of a huge
floating head in space.
Yeah. That's one thing that I thought the first film probably did a little bit better in terms of pacing. But they also had a cheat, because if you guys remember that film, they give tons and tons of exposition with an internal monologue of their characters, so you can speed through the film a little bit. But
so does the novel, though. Like every chapter you're in someone's head, mostly Lady Jessica, but every chapter you're in someone's head.
So that was one of the things. The book has been considered almost unadaptable for screen because of the way it's told in head narration without dialogue for most of it. That's why I think like Denny did something with this that a lot of other directors might not have been able to do, because he's such a visual storyteller. Like, he doesn't use hardly any internal dialogue, but yet you always know what the characters are thinking in every scene you really see them in.
Mm-hmm. And that's a testament to the actors as well, right? With their facial expressions and things like that.
Didn't he have a quote that went like viral this last week about dialogue?
Yeah, if he could make a film with no dialogue, he would.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a kind of a awesome thing to hear from a director, because I mean, it's a visual medium. So if you can start with the visuals before you start dumping just tons and tons of dialogue on the screen, this is the result. You get a guy who, if he's not if he's not the top director right now, he's top 5, top 10, right, going for sure. So I love the approach, and I think it's awesome.
Cliff, how well do the characters in this one play for you? Because I know a lot of people going between the first movie and this movie, I know a lot of people have said that this one was like, if you like the first one, which a lot of people enjoy, this one is even better. And one thing that happened in this one is we get a lot more characters, and we get a lot more character arcs in this one, being that, like you pointed out, this isn't two different movies. It's one story, and this being the latter half of the story, a lot more is happening. How did you feel about the characters in this one, the actual portrayals of them?
I was pretty fine, because we've come a long way with Dune portrayals, right? Like, I've watched the fan edits of the old 84 Dune, which is or 80 whatever Dune, right? Which is terrible, but at the exact same time, ridiculously faithful to the book. So, like, I gotta give it credit for that, right? And then, of course, we've got the whole Dune miniseries that were on Sci-Fi, and now we have this. So at this point, I'm like, I'm having a good time. They seem to be doing all right. Honestly, it's Christopher Walken that's really the one where I'm like, wow, that's Christopher Walken. Like, he's the only one where I don't get caught up in the character. Everyone's doing their job where I'm caught up, and I'm not really thinking about, oh, this isn't the way I saw it, and stuff like that. I have a little bit of that from the first one, but, you got to make a movie.
I love Javier Bardem and his role to him being so faithful to the prophecy, and him recognizing how Paul is the one, and just continuing that and to roll with him, and even going as far as to give up his life for Paul just to speak at the council meeting, which was dope.
I got a question about that character, though. In my theater, I saw it in an XD theater, probably 1,000 people. Every single time he said something, it was like I was watching a comedy. Like 1,000, literally the entire theater started laughing. Was that your guys' experience?
Yeah, well, no, because there wasn't 1,000 people. I didn't go see this shit at Red Rock, but there's definitely chuckles at numerous ones of his part, including mine, which I think that was intended for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it really started early on, like because like after the opening scene, which was like heart-stopping, really cool, like with the guards like floating up to the top of the rocks and then getting sniped off, and the bodies just falling, like raining on them and stuff, and getting to see the dynamic of how they preserve and save water even from the dead at that point and stuff, like, which was absolutely awesome, like diving into the actual way the Fremen live their life. But then we get the first real moment with Stilgar and Paul when he's talking about going out into the deserts, like, what should I be worried about? And he starts naming like the lizards and the toads and all this and all that, and he's obviously just being a little lighthearted with it. We got a little chuckle, but when you start diving into like the debate between the older members of the Fremen and the younger people that are this, that's how it really is. Like, the younger kids were the skeptics and the non-believers and stuff, and him like, oh, he's so humble, he's definitely the one and all this. Like, yeah, dude, like it was definitely funny. I think it was meant to be, but I do think it was handled right in a sense, like, he's not saying anything funny. It's just that's funny for us because we don't live in that world kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I didn't have the same experience. Granted, my theater, because I went on a Sunday afternoon in the theater, I want to say it was maybe 2/3 full. And there were like light chuckles here and there, but no like uproarious laughter.
Right.
Yeah,
Light chuckles. And first of all, I love him as an actor so much, especially in this film, because I can't remember the last time somebody delivered lines like for the audience to chuckle at, but at the exact same time lent a sense of gravitas to each scene. Like that's like top tier acting for me. So yeah, I feel like Javier Bardem was like pow in this movie.
Yeah, nobody laughed in my theater when he was on screen.
I also do wonder if some of that was for those of us who actually know Dune to some extent, right? Like I'm not like intimately familiar, but I read the first 6 books, you know, so I get what's going on. I have some serious opinions about characters. I do feel his lines were kind of for us, right? But if you're just there, you're like, I've never seen or read Dune before in my life. I don't feel it's gonna land the same.
Now, when I watched it the second time, those comical things were kind of like counterbalanced really heavy. Like, because the first time I'm like hanging on every word people are saying. I'm looking at one thing so closely, and there's a lot happening with it, like we said, the performances and stuff. And for me, like when it really hit me, like how counterbalanced that levity is when Paul went out to like attempt to ride the first sandworm. And when he did it, when he stood up and the music hit, because there was no music. You're just hearing the sand, you're hearing him grunt, hearing the spikes hit. But when he actually started to stand up and then he stood, the music hit, and it cuts to Zendaya, who smiles and cheers, and off to the side of her, all of Javier Bardem and their people dropped. Zendaya looked, and she looked, and she's realizing that everyone, even some of the people that didn't believe, dropped. And in that moment, in that build-up, with that epic wide shot down to being in the sand with him, down to riding it and feeling the vibrations in that theater, just standing up to that music and then getting a response, drop. Like you feel it. You're like, yo, this isn't funny anymore. Like these people, like you felt it. Like these motherfuckers take this serious, like super serious. And dude, I haven't had these kind of feelings in a movie in a while, dude. Like you really escape into it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the feeling that it evoked the last time I can even remember anything was during the fight scene in Endgame, which like with Captain America lifting Mjolnir, I was just like, holy shit, started crying and everything, like emotions just coming. I had those same feelings in the worm scene, and even in the last battle scene. Like it's just like I was rooting for this stuff to happen. That means I was like fully engrossed in the movie. Like,
the last battle scene, the thing, and I think I mentioned this last week. There were two things that to me that could have been better, I think. But having said that, I also realize that they have to follow the book, you know. So, but to me, the last battle scene between Paul and the Austin Butler character, I can't think of his name now. Right. To me, it would have felt more intense if it felt more personal between the two, and it didn't really feel very personal by the two. Austin is only there because he killed the Dave Bautista character, and that's why he ended up, you know, facing Paul. And then that brings me to my second one was, and this goes back to what John said before, as one big movie, if you just looked at this as a single movie, the John Bautista character was wasted. He was just there to get killed in the second movie. Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista. He was just there to get killed.
Drax finally gets to fight Thanos, and he gets lit up in literally a tenth of a second. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So there was like nothing to it.
I've seen the original piece of shit Dune film, and I've watched the Sci-Fi Channel one, and that character is never anything but that. He's the incapable big doofus. Like he's the muscle. Like the classic trope of the muscle is never the brain.
Paper muscles, exactly.
Yeah, dude, I thought and this really, like in the David Lynch one, it was the Baron that took his head off himself. You know, he fails. That's all he knows how to do is fail. That's why he's a pussy. He runs away and all this stuff. And you know, like Fate is his exact opposite. You know, he's smaller. He's precise. He's methodical. He's how did the Bene Gesserit describe him? A sociopathic genius. You know, like he can be controlled, and we know how. Like
he was awesome.
Dude, Austin, let's get into that. Austin Butler's portrayal of Fade not only introduced us to a fantastic character, but it introduced us to Gidi Prime, the homeworld of the Harkonnen, in a specific way that I don't know
Oh
I've
my
ever
God.
seen done in cinema. So for those that don't know, Denis Villeneuve shot this movie with high scale IMAX cameras and transferred it to 35 millimeter film and then ran it digital so that it would get this specific look to it that didn't, everything blended in well that way. But what they did with Gidi Prime is he filmed with infrared cameras. They were pulling in infrared light. That's how they got the colors like they did, where it was just like the absence of color versus just black and white.
The fireworks are
liquid fireworks.
Yeah.
And I love the whole introduction of Gidi Prime, because as we're getting there and Fade is going through a ceremony of like his coming of age ceremony kind of thing, where he goes into the arena and he battles, and they kind of took that scene and upscaled it to make it an actual arena scene. And in walks the camera to this world, and the announcer drops one line of dialogue under the black sun of Harkonnen, and that explained everything we needed to know.
Why the colors are like that. Yeah, exactly.
And then from there on, your brain's just trying to process what you're seeing, because it's so weird. What y'all think of that whole Gidi Prime scene there?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like it did something, and again, it was something I was really happy to see in Dune Part 2, right? Like we got the visuals that I was hoping for, where they pushed a visual cinematic experience, because I was like, how can you be how are you in this desert in Jordan where they filmed Lawrence in Arabia, and you made the desert look like this? Like, why is this happening? Part 2 took care of me real quick.
It was beautiful. I was sitting there watching that in awe, because I'm a film guy. I just love cinema. And for them to kind of introduce something that's not necessarily new, but it's new for today's audience.
Yes.
I was blown away. So you got the negative stuff, or the black and white stuff, and then Austin Butler's portrayal. From the minute he's shown on screen, he's just eating it up. Then you got the Baron, and the Baron is going to do some slick shit. So I'm just seeing like what comes next. I was on the edge of my seat. I was in awe. It just looked absolutely magnificent. Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he killed his mother.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that scene that didn't stop like really just tricking my brain on a bunch of levels. It was really cool seeing like the last few members of the House of Arrakis that they had captive. There's some characters that were really not. They were kind of like pushed aside from the book, like the Mentat from the House of Arrakis was in the original movie, like shown captive on Gidi Prime, where they were like kind of tormenting him as a prisoner. They just left him out and brought in pretty much gladiator style survivors and stuff, and gave us a really cool fight and really showcase like how sadistic Fate is. His whole introduction with his cannibalistic concubines. Then anyone in his arm reach, you're probably gonna die any second, and they all act like it. They're all sitting there like afraid to look up, shaking in his presence, like really just set the stage for how dangerous this dude is. But that whole scene,
and you guys said the Austin Butler. I mean, he was just that thing where he kissed Stellan Skarsgård. That was totally improvised. That was not the. And the other thing too is if I hadn't known that was Stellan Skarsgård, I would not have known just by seeing the movie. That's how well I think the makeup and everything was on.
Yeah, last time I seen him, he was naked running around in a Thor movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, around Stonehenge, right?
Yeah, that was hilarious. Lost his marbles.
I thought it was absolutely breathtaking. The only thing that I kind of wanted more of it, and that kind of goes back to my like previous that it could have been 3 movies, because not to jump ahead, I'll do that kind of review at the end if we got time, but
jump ahead if you want. Jump wherever you want.
There's really 3 movies here, and it's them arriving on Dune, and then the death of his father. That's actually the end of the first movie, and then we get like 40 minutes after that. So what they should have done, I don't want to get too into the weeds about the actual. Again, let's do this at the end.
Get into the weeds, man. Don't hold back. Get into the weeds.
All right. Well, all right. So the last 40 minutes of the first movie is actually the first act of a new movie, and it just didn't function correctly if you're looking at the first film as a movie. So we have our first act of the film is we get a disruption in the normal world of our characters when literally the note comes from the Emperor and that the fucking ship lands and they come out and they're like, "Will you take this?" And he puts his finger in the ink or in the not the ink, the wax. And he accepts it. You're like, "Oh fuck! All right, these people can't go back. That's it. That's a disruption in the world." Then the fucking ships come out of the water. They're going to Dune. They're taking it over. There's our lock. We can't leave, right? So now we're shifting into the second act of our film, and we are on Dune. The thing that gets kind of glossed over and skipped a little bit is, again, so Cliff can talk to this because he's going to know more about the book than I haven't read the book, so I have to own that. But I've seen the first film. I personally loved it. I mean, because I saw it as a kid with my uncle, and I remember that experience like in Connecticut. But they left like multiple dudes behind, like not just one, at least in the original film. It wasn't just the guy who tried to assassinate him. So they could have been cleansing the planet a little bit more. That could have been a sequence of action instead of like a scene. We fill that out a little bit. I wanted to see Leto and their relationship fleshed out more. Like, let's see the conception of that child. Like, does she use the voice? She's like, finish. He's like, oh, Arrakis. Fucking baby conceived, right? It's like, what the fuck's going on? What's that relationship?
Yeah, I'm damn sure Lady Jessica didn't do any of that in the book because the whole big thing was, why did you give him a son? You were explicitly told not to give him a son. Also, Shani's mom is in the first movie and not utilized for her importance, right? She's just there like as a freaking chambermaid. But in the book, she sees Lady Jessica, and in that Bene Gesserit old school, whatever freaking language, tells her, are you the one who's come to save us? Because this place is hell.
Who was Chani's mom in these movies?
The maid, but it's edited down so we don't get to know that. We don't get to
know
that.
In the book, in the original movies, Dr. Kynes is Chani's dad. And in the dentist, in part 1, Dr. Kynes was switched out for a female character, which I just, in my mind, assumed that's still Chani's parent.
Yeah, which I believe too, because I was really trying to like process what it was, because I was like, it's so funny when you read a book and there's things that are powerful for you, right? And then Shut Up Mape is what, I think, yes, Lady Fantastic. She's always
she died in the first one. She was the one that when the little thing came at Paul's eye, the little spy poker, and it almost got the maid, but he caught it. That was a shout out, mate.
Yeah. So like, but anyhow, my point is in the book, like that like stands out to me. Of course, freaking the writer was just like so horny for Lady Jessica. It's a lot of it is her perspective when you're writing the book. Children. So
I mean, you got to be horny.
So, oh my God, dude, don't follow up on me. So anyhow, my point is like that like really stood out to me because like Lady Jessica gets into a panic once she realizes that she just heard this prophecy, and all the Bene Gesserit know all the prophecies for everywhere they go. So when they meet someone who knows who they are and they hear the line, they like get like, okay, what's going on here? But she's like, oh crap. So she already knows like my kid is the one.
I think that's like, this is all the stuff that I kind of lends to my like hypothetical like thesis paper, because the Leto and the end of that like sequence of action actually ends at like the hour and 50-minute mark. And if we just fill out that second act and get the stuff that Cliff's talking about, a little more obstacles with the construction of like clearing out the Harkonnens that are left behind, the spies and stuff, I get some more relationship building, so I get to see Leto with his wife, because I wanted more of that, like in terms of like for
we are like in the book, like we don't get more, like we are cut off from that, right? Like that's like intentional. So I do feel like your wanting for that is a nature to the story.
No. Yeah. I for sure. I'm just trying to say, like, if you wanted to divide this up into 3 movies, and the first movie actually ended at the hour and 50 minute mark. If it's 2:10, you get a little bit more whatever kind of character development you want in the second act of the film. And then as you transition into the third act, the thing about like constructing a film is that you want continuous rising action. And when Leto died, like his father gets killed, you can't go bigger than that. So yeah, like that's the end of our film. That's the end of it. So when he then goes on the helicopter or whatever you want to, I forget what the name of it is, and he's flying and he uses the voice, that's fantastic. Like that should have been the end. That should have been the end of the third act, where he crashes and then he literally takes out the light and sees the spice when he's in the hole. That should have been how we faded to black. And then the reason for that is, like, in terms of film construction, where I was saying the next 40 minutes is actually the beginning of the next movie. Mm-hmm. It's because our normal world at that point, sorry for film terminology, but the original 15 minutes of a movie is your normal world. It's where your character is kind of just stuck in there. So Jason Momoa shows up. They come out of the hole. They get rescued by I forget what her name is, but they go into they have the spit coffee, whatever, and then that's actually the intro to and then we get to the fight where he has to fight the dude. That's actually our intro into the second act of the movie, the second act of a hypothetical second movie, because that's the lock that creates a situation where he's actually with the Fremen, and now he has to build that legend of him becoming the chosen one. And Cliff can talk to this, but in the first movie, what I thought was way cooler than this one, well, not way cooler, but I thought was done better, is, dude, he literally like lights up a rock with his voice, like to show the Fremen that he's like the one. And we never really got that in this movie. Like, I understood.
Yeah, they leave all the sound technology out of this. Like, that was one of the reasons why the Emperor wanted to take out House Atreides. Is not only did he it's like in the 48 Laws of Power, it's literally law number 1 in that book: never outshine the master. And Leto Atreides was outshining the master in every way. He was more favorable to the other houses. He was this man of hope, and he was also developing this technology to create weapons based on sound that no one else knew how he was doing it. And I'm glad that that's something that they kind of, not only do they move it aside, they also I thought they lean more into some of the lore, because they don't get into it in the movies, but in Dune, like, computers are outlawed, AI is outlawed, and like other technology that's completely outlawed, because in the past in Dune, like, AI and machinery became an issue, and there was a whole holy war earlier in that mythos that they took it all out and outlawed it with by writing a whole nother Bible after the war that they all live by. But as far as breaking the movie right there, like, that's where the Sci-Fi Channel broke the movie. In the first Dune book, they did in 3 films for the first Dune book, and they, Leto dies, they escape out, and as soon as they get found by Dr. Kynes and Duncan Idaho, they just run into the desert, and a bomb takes out Duncan and Dr. Kynes, and you don't know the fate of either of those characters until the opening scene of part 2. Where they state that Duncan Idaho was killed and Dr. Kynes was captured.
It's funny, man. Yeah, I haven't seen those, so I have to apologize and own that. But that's where I break it up, and then like the entire second film is basically them pushing back the Harkin and destroying spice production. And the one thing that I would, again, this is another thing that I just wish that there was more of in Dune Part 2 was, and this actually goes back to the original, like how we started this path of listening to a moron talk on the live stream was. I wanted more of Frey and Harkonnen in that building, which could have been the absolute beginning of the third film in terms of like where are we going in the third film. It's like, well, they've lost control of the northern half of the planet, and now we got to send in the hammer to clean it up, and that's the intro to the third film. And now what I wish there was a lot more of in Dune Part 2 is we fill that out. Like, we completely start with him. Like, the one thing about the Coliseum scene that I wish there was just more of, or I thought it didn't do as well as it could have, I absolutely loved it. Like, if I just turn my brain off and not think about it, it's absolutely badass. But the thing about it is like, you're constructing this guy that's absolutely this warrior that's fearless, indestructible, that's going to fight our basically Neo at the end of the film. And he goes into an arena and fights two dudes that are drugged. And I'm like, even if that's in the book, I would say, like, can we do something more where I get that the third dude wasn't drugged, but he looked like an old kind of like broken down dude. Give the guy like the most badass human being on the planet. Just have fucking Hulk break through the Thor Ragnarok wall and just come in like a goddamn monster and be like, oh, that's why this fool is indestructible. Even in the fight, like they have the handler come in and shoot the guy in the back, and it's like, come on, this guy's the most.
Whatever he poked him with stayed in him too. I don't know if anyone noticed that.
Yeah.
But he speared him with something. When he pulled it out, it left like a feather, and it.
I think it was like a fish hook to like pull him off him basically.
Pull him off of him.
Now, one thing I think the universe does good, though, it does like separate the concept of like size being power, because Paul is a small dude, and the fact that Gurney Gurney and Duncan are like the two most feared individuals in the universe, and both of them are with the House Atreides. That's why they needed to send the 3 battalions of Sudakar with the Harkonnens over to Arrakis to take it over, because they had no faith that they could do it on their own. And the fact that Paul is trained by those two, and it shows like despite his size, he's ridiculously capable. And then like you point out, Batista, he's like a big tough guy, and he can get it.
Yeah. No, to John's point, that's true. I noticed that, and I was just like, what the hell? And it reminded me of Gladiator when Commodus is fighting wounded, whatever his name is, Gladiator. Maximus. Yeah, so I was just like, all right, why is the Doctor putting up such a good fight? Granted, maybe to show the strength and the fighting acumen that the Paul and his peoples have, but it made no sense. Like, this dude should have cut through all of them like butter. Literally.
I mean, the other two dudes look jacked, but they like everyone in the arena is like, they're not drugged. It's like,
yeah, I don't think they were watching that. Like, I never got the impression that they were watching this happen for sport or competition. It just lent to the sociopathic side of this culture, because as soon as Fade saw that the dude wasn't drugged, he looked up at the stands, and the first thing that Vladimir did was lean forward and said, "Show me who you are." He had never seen it before. His uncle, like that, he's in his favor, he's in his grace. Like he wants to know what this kid is capable of as well in that moment. And that was a great moment where he just sits up, show me who you are. Like he can hear you. But he got the vibe, and he took his shield off.
That shit was bad high up too.
Yeah.
Who's saying that?
I think that's actually the function of the scene. It's their conversation between the two of them, even though they can't hear each other. And that's what makes it so badass. But it's like, to DJ's point, it's like, if this is the dude Paul's going to fight at the end, like, I want him to fight the most, like, I want somebody to just walk out with a 20-foot sword, and he's like, I'm going to walk through this guy. I know that's not what it is, and that's not what the book is.
Come out with spiked up hair.
Yeah, dude, like, show me this guy.
The pyramid head.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, like, my stupid, whatever, thesis. If this was a third film, like, we could have seen a situation like that where he just, even the I forget the girl's name that he burns later in the film. Instead of burning her, he could have like thrown a blade on the ground and said like, "You took out 9 of my guys, you ain't taking out me." And then they literally stand up instead of him burning him. And I'm like, oh, this dude. I mean, the scene is he's super sadistic, right? So he literally burns a chick alive, which is.
I think that's more sadistic. The full bombardment on their home. Like, and even Vladimir, like they're losing the North completely, and they're showcasing that through Batista's failures, through Raven's failures, and just the frustration of him beating the heads of his own like help on the screens and stuff, and just losing his grip on Arrakis all around. And then Fade comes in and does like there's almost like this is a very dishonorable culture, but it was still like an art of war, and Fade just doesn't have it. He doesn't care, and even the Baron sees him just dropping all those bombs on that siege, and he's like, a classic bombardment, just you're literally melting the rocks on top of them. I'm like, dude, like this is just he's savage. Like, he's completely savage. He's not there to prove himself to people. I think that's part of his like hubris, right? He's already proven himself to himself, and he wasn't the best judge of character, apparently.
And to Cliff's point earlier that he made in the comments about Austin Butler, and it's great that I don't view him. I'm only going to speak for myself. I don't view him as Elvis before. Before he was just Elvis.
Yeah.
And this kind of broke him out of that. So it's a milestone role for him, and he did fantastic at it.
Although it's really funny that his most popular roles are roles that he heavily committed to, and then he just kind of transformed into whatever that role is, and that's how society looked at him. So he had the next transformative role.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like a lot of career-defining moments out of this film franchise.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about the whole Bene Gesserit society? We get to see like more of an understanding of this. In the first film, we get that meeting before we head to Arrakis when they test Paul, when the Bene Gesserit come to test him. Then after the fact, that's when they kind of do an exposition dump, just a straight up conversation between Paul and Lady Jessica, which was a fantastic scene, covered in fog with just one lamp in between them that's barely shining on them. And they're at a distance in which like you would assume that their voices wouldn't necessarily carry, but it was another scene kind of like Fade and Vladimir with that distance, and they're still communicating. That's what Jessica and Paul did in the first one when she was explaining to him about the Kitsak Haderach and how we've been manipulating bloodlines meticulously for generations and generations to create the perfect mind that can span space and time and blah, 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 blah. And in this one, we get to see a lot more of that positioning and that moving and how they have their fingers in everything. It's really like a piece of dialogue that has existed in the book and in every film iteration of this is the whole plans within plans. And we heard that on Giddy Prime. But the whole Lady Bene Gesserit order in this one is frightening to me.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's super awesome. And they are the masters of plans within plans and manipulating everyone. But at the same time, they're scared, right? Like they fostered all this. And now it's like, oh no, this is not going the way we wanted. Why are the cousins going to kill each other? This shouldn't be happening. This is your fault. Your fault. Like, it's great.
Dude, when Paul uses the voice on her, I was like,
yeah, she was too.
That shit was crazy.
that was dope. That might have been the coolest line in all the movies in the entire two parts, man. That was
it was the greatest line ever when he was like, "Shut up, bitch."
yeah.
Yeah,
Lady F, you can answer this.
I loved it. Wow.
Is the mother is she actually Lady Jessica's mom? Like I vaguely remember
she is Lady Jessica's mom who was ravaged by Baron Harkonnen. That's why Baron Harkonnen suffers from the disease and the handicap nature, because she basically put roots on the dude after she was ravaged by him, and she gave birth to Lady Jessica. What's funny is if you didn't know that.
Oh, sure. So, I didn't know that.
One lucky winner from tonight's stream will be able to dive into all of that lore in House Harkonnen.
Listen, when I was reading the books, I was just real mad that the only gay person had to be the ultimate villain in the freaking series. I was so pissed. And then they had that big political bisexual orgy, and I felt a lot better about myself afterwards.
Nothing like a political bisexual orgy. Throw some spice in there and it's a party.
Those are the best. So why didn't the Reverend Mother just say, "Get off"?
Because she didn't want to. She wanted the child from the bloodline, but that doesn't mean she wanted it to go as smoothly. As it did. So if you know that, when you get that scene, like when Lady Finring, which is actually the Lady Finring who like went and hooked up with Fade, that's the wife of the Emperor's like right hand man, and she's obviously like loyal to the sisterhood, like they all are. But when she met with the Jesuits after the fact with Fade, and she asked her like, why didn't you go test him yourself? And she's like, oh well, the whole mom thing and this and that. But you're like, yeah, is that it, or do you really just not like House Harkonnen? You know what I mean? Like you got some bad history with House Harkonnen. There's like so much levels to this stuff. Like it's probably like because I've been diving way into all the lore and everything for like 2 weeks now. And there's so much to all of these that that Denny is more than familiar with when he's cutting these scenes. And asking for these performances and asking for these reactions and stuff. It's all there. But Lady Jessica specifically was one of the biggest character arcs that I've seen on film, like and especially in like I don't know, this type of film, you know, like. But watching her go from like fearful in the beginning, like exposed, helpless, to being like like the one's mom.
She is never helpless. She is cautious. She is cautious and concerned, right? But and the book does a much, because in the book you're literally in everyone's head, right? So in the book you already know it's caution and concern, and then, well, crap, I didn't ask for this, but I'm the one's mom, so I gotta make the moves, and she makes the moves. That I think in the whatever edit of the first movie you can see the dinner scene that was omitted. Again, that's politically thriving, and you're supposed to be watching her and Paul manipulate the whole dinner. Is amazing, and they're really well done, and fantastic in the book. And again, it just makes me think. Just has a different experience. Like the book, like I don't remember everything. A lot of it is foggy, but the things I remember really clearly are things they kind of chose to edit around, and I was like, "Wow, that had a huge impact on me." But I guess not for everybody.
Yeah, that's it's kind of interesting to see. Like the more like I find out about this stuff and go back and watch the Sci-Fi Channel one. If you haven't seen the Sci-Fi Channel stuff, it's extremely long. It's done in multiple parts, and it's all available free on YouTube. All of it.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
And of
It's
course,
it's actually like story-wise, the story's all there. Like the presentation is early 2000 Sci-Fi Channel, which always felt like some weird foreign stuff. You know, that was just the way the production looked at the time. But because it's like 20 years old now, when you look back at it, it just looks like 20-year-old TV stuff. It doesn't have that same off feeling. It just looks old. You know what I mean?
I felt that way when I watched I rewatched the original not too long ago, and I was just terrible. Like, I don't know, man. It has a charm to it.
I missed that. I didn't see the charm. Was it when they were picking the whole?
I looked away at that with like the postulating face. No, I'm good on that, but everything else I thought was solid.
I've never seen the original.
Sting offered to give his costume to Austin Butler.
Mm-hmm. Cubes in it and all.
Mm-hmm.
Before we lose DJ, I want to move over to like the big finale of this film. I want us to all get an opportunity to touch on this. DJ's got to go. He got an early bedtime tonight, but I wish we all did. But the final scene in this was epic. Long story short, Gurney shows back up, survived the attack in the first one. He knows where the Atreides atomics are, which gives the Fremen an edge. That changes the nature of the game. They immediately start planning their final attack. They trick the Emperor or goat the Emperor into showing up on Arrakis, to calling out the lack of power of Harkonnen to take back the planet. And they have everybody where they want them. And they're in like this giant like canyon, like where they think they're protected from a storm, and they use that to their benefit. They send an atomic and they blow up a wall on this valley, and then they all go riding sandworms into this epic final battle. It was epic too. Yeah. What were your thoughts on that whole thing?
I thought it was amazing. Clearly, I'm going to say everything was amazing, but I thought the way they set it up, it was the classic riding into battle. But in this case, we're riding into battle on sandworms. I thought
Javier Bardem had like a rider on his contract for him to do this. He wanted a shot of him riding into battle on a sandworm. Like,
really?
Serious?
Oh wow.
They gave it to him.
Yeah, nice. I thought it was that, and it was also the realization, or more evidence into the realization, that Paul was the one riding into battle on the sandworms, and just going to go wreck shit. I thought it was beautiful, man.
It felt like a true epic, like watching the planet come together. He said, Stilgar, you come in from the west, Chani, you and your fighters come in from the east, I'll come in from the north, and you watch it all play out. You see like the explosion happens. The ground troops are trying to get up and brush the dust off themselves, hold their battle flags back up and get their bearings. And as the wind blows away the dust from the blast, the first thing you see is just a giant beast coming from the sand and hitting the ground, and then there's another one, and they don't stop. They just come through you, and before you turn around, there's an entire army of Fremen that pop out of the dirt. Like, I love the way that this is shot. Like, they're clearly on wires to get this kind of fluid momentum, but they come out of the ground and they're going full speed. They don't stand up and start running. No, they're just out of the ground and moving. It makes me want to watch the first Matrix. Yeah, but dude, it was really cool seeing that whole battle build up. And of course, you have the Emperor and the Harkonnens in like the throne room, and they hear the battle outside, and the doors blow up. The guard walks out, and just smoothly, you don't hear any fighting or anything. The Fremen just walk in, Paul covered in blood. Like I don't know if y'all caught that, but like you didn't hear any fighting at all. They walk into the dust, and no one comes out but Fremen, and he doesn't slow down. He doesn't stop to measure the room. He just walks in straight to the Baron, who's laid out on the steps. Hello, grandfather. Knife in the neck, just casually. Now you die.
That shit was so cold-blooded. It wasn't even funny. I gasped. I didn't think that he was going to do that. I expected him to go in, speech. Yeah. I was just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, brilliant. Brilliant. It showed his callousness and cold-bloodedness. Amazing.
Well, it showed his commitment to trying to do what was right.
You didn't enjoy him stabbing the Baron in the neck, sir?
No, it's great, but at the same time, he also knows from his visions, like, this is what I have to do anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Like, even, and I don't know how abundantly clear the first film made this, but like, even he knows at a certain point in the first film, he's like, wow, whether I participate any further in this or not, it's going to continue on without me. So this Paul that we get is just like, I just guess I've got to do my part. You know?
I think this movie is perfectly bookended in so many aspects of the first one. If you remember, before they left Caledon in the first film, he was walking with his father amongst the graves of their relatives, talking about their grandfather. And his Leto was like, when you're the Duke, when he's like, I don't want to be the Duke. He goes, and no true leader yearns for power. Like if all you ever are in this life is my son, then you succeeded. When it comes calling, you'll answer how you choose at that time. Like, and then watching that play out in this movie, like there's so many little subtle things like that were not forgotten and completely addressed in this film. And that was really a testament to it, because he kept saying in this film, like, I'm not your leader. I'm not the one. I just train me in your ways. Let me fight beside you. I just want to do what's right. And he just naturally like entered into that level. It was kind of like progressive. You saw the little moments where it happened, like it was all out of necessity, really.
Of course. I listen, I love that this movie is filled with people who were paying attention to the assignment. Right? They knew the material that they were working with. He had a vision for how he wanted to bring it to life. And, and the right team of people to make it happen.
J-Med, you're a big fan of the David Lynch film. How did this final knife fight with Fade and Paul stack up for you?
It was awesome. In the original film, he does something with his voice at the very end where he like literally splits the ground beneath Sting, where you kind of see how insanely powerful he is. If I remember correctly, something like that.
So in the new one, it's when he yells at the Bene Gesserit mother and puts her back in her place. And in the original one, after the fact, she pretty much just yells like after he's dead, just yells at him, and the ground cracks and it starts raining and shit. And just
dude, yeah, he literally makes it rain.
You did it like the rain?
He makes it rain.
Out of nowhere.
I love making it rain.
It was awesome. I mean, I guess if I'm being nitpicky, if you're like looking for something to complain about, I guess it was the fact that he even like kind of got a good hit in, like he got him in the gut. But I mean, that's just me being nitpicky about the particulars of the fight. I think the way it's shot with the sun in the background and they're just coming at each other. Like I said, the fan rating on this is a 10 out of 10. Like it's absolutely epic. I got really no complaints there. Like I mean, it would go if like I said, if I'm looking for something to complain about, I guess it would be that if he's really the one, he kind of just walks through this guy, and it ties back to the previous note about him only fought, at least that we saw, that he only fought 2 guys that were basically drugged and then a doctor. So I mean, I just thought he could have been set up a little bit better. So that's not a complaint about the fight at the end. It's a complaint about like his setup earlier in the film. But
I agree with you, and I don't know. That's weird. I don't remember the fight perfectly in the book. I remember Paul doesn't kill the Baron. So like it was a good spin.
His sister kills the Baron originally. She's not even born yet in Denny's version, but she's born. She goes in the palace first and sends the Baron out the palace.
But she's the creepiest character.
DJ, what do you think about that knife fight? The whole scene there.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was weird. Well, let me not say I thought it was cool. I thought it was great. The way it was filmed and everything, like John said, the sunset, their silhouettes like that, fantastic stuff. Reminded me of like the scene in Kill Bill where they're fighting in that thing. So that was pretty dope. Goes back to what we were saying before, the drug dudes, the doctor, whatever. He should not have gotten that close to Paul. He should not have been able to stab Paul at all. Like, Paul should have just watched him.
Yeah.
But it was dope, man. The way it was filmed and everything, it was fantastic. I'm always down for a mano-a-mano macho fight. I don't think we get that a lot anymore.
And that's one thing I like about it, is like the level in which like that fight felt super important. It felt tense. Like I didn't go into this film knowing as much about the universe at all that I know. I saw Denny's part 1, and I refused to watch anything else or anything until I saw part 2. And so I'm watching. I'm like, dude, I have no clue how this is going to go. And even knowing like creative, different directions, I had no idea. I thought that scene was set up perfectly. As like you had the Fremen in there, you had Gurney in there, then the Emperor and all his people came in there. You know, he told them to go. The great houses are here. Go get the prisoners. Yes, sir. And he brings them in. And the first thing he does is go to Chani. As long as I breathe, I will love you. And then just turns immediately and starts just like berating the Emperor. Calls him out. Like, you see who I am. You think they won't want to know who I am? And he's like, I'm taking over. I'm taking your daughter's hand. Like that moment right there. I'm like, yo, wait, what? And
I was like, what? She was like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah. And then even in the fight with Faye, there was a moment where Paul's down for a minute, you know, like they have a great like spot, you know, and they both get separated. Fade's bleeding from the mouth. Paul's got blood on his head. And he notices a look to Chani, and he makes the comments about his pet and this and that. And Chani doesn't look at Paul, doesn't look at Fade. She looks at the Emperor's daughter, and then you get that moment with Florence, and like, this is so intense. And then
I was like what?
And I loved it that Paul caught that.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps, bro.
Paul caught the blade to the side of the gut. And this is where Timothy really showed his chops. Not only did he show his chops when he was like rallying the troops, that speech was insane when he just walks out there and talks King Kamehameha shit. And everyone stands up against him. Who will stand up against me? Everyone stands up. The first thing he does is he crouches down to get eye level with him, like they're nothing. I'm like, bro, do you know how genius that shot is? Like, for everyone to rise up against him, and he crouches down to their level to talk to him. Like, bro, that is fucking visually genius right there. But back to the end, when they're fighting that, when he took that knife and he starts laboring his breath, he's like, you hear him say like, oh, for a second, like at that moment of shock, but still with like through that voice of determination. And then this is where that flawless book ending goes. His training with Gurney in the opening fucking scene 5 hours ago in cinema time here, when he's sparring with Gurney and he puts it on Gurney's neck and he goes, I got you, old man. He goes, look down, think again. You would have come with me to the afterlife. Gurney's got the knife in his gut. Fucking Paul did that. He did that exact move that Gurney taught him. And he took one to the shoulder and took it out and put it. I'm like, yes. Like, too smart. Like, and it didn't take like massive weapons.
Bro, that shit was fucking phenomenal. Excuse my French. That callback, I didn't even get that. Yeah, it was the exact move, from the first movie. Wow.
But we don't need like this massive, like explosive thing. We don't need this. No, just two dudes, one-on-one with hand knives. Epic.
I think that's how every disagreement should be handled.
Well,
No, this is not Rebel Without a Cause we're living in. No.
You disagree with me? Let's get the
I am
knives.
disagreeing with you.
Let's get the knives, Cliff.
I want to handle it my way. Political bisexual orgy. That's much more effective.
Gotcha. I'm going to have to disagree on that. More knives.
More erections. So
Yeah, so we just glossed over that whole entire speech when he went in to rally the troops and stuff like that, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. From a writing perspective, John, what did you think? Like, was that the way it should have been done, or would you have changed anything?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, he's literally like telling each person, reading their mind or telling them their future and stuff, and everyone just gets shut down immediately. I mean, yeah, that's on point. I mean, the only thing that I don't know, I guess I'm interpreting slightly different than everybody else is, I don't know that the ending is like as much of a high as people think. I think it's kind of it's almost like I think he's not a good dude. Like this is like
becomes a bad dude. He starts an entire holy war and millions of people die because of it.
Yeah, I mean he already told us, by the way, if you were listening, he goes, in my dreams, if I go to the South, when I go, billions will die. That's what's going to happen in the next movie. Like if I would,
that's what they were going off to do. That's the start. That's the start of billions dying, is them taking off in the Emperor's ships and stuff at the end of this movie.
Well, dude,
yeah, that
literally.
So it begins. The Holy War starts. That's it.
Yes. So the end of the movie is actually, it's not a Greek tragedy, but it's a
Arakan tragedy.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. It's be careful what you wish for. Like,
it's so much worse than that. So much. I mean, you're doing this with zero knowledge of the 6 books. With knowledge of the 6 books, it's so much worse than that.
I believe you. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening, I think that's the thing about Villeneuve. I think Paul or Mark, you said it in a IG post yesterday or something. I saw it for the second time and I started seeing so many more things. There's so many things you don't see on the first viewing with his movies, and when you go back, you see that everything is actually set up, and everything is probably like I said, the line of dialogue. It's like billions are going to die. It's like, what now? Like,
see, it feels subtle. Like the first time you watch it, he has these visions of potential futures, past, future, all that kind of stuff, but he fights against it. Like when it was time for everyone to leave, in this film, he said, go to the South and y'all go. I'll stay here and basically give you cover fire. Gurney says, I'll stay here with you as well. He's like, and he yelled at Gurney. He's like, no, you're going to go to the South too. I'm not arguing. Go protect my mom. I'm staying here. Like he fought it tooth and nail numerous times through the film. But
yes, my lord.
Yeah, Denny doesn't hold our hands. He's like, yo, I told you. How many times do I have to tell you? And how do I have to yell it at you? It was said. It's there. Just like with the Under the Black Sun, as Fade comes out to that was it. Did you hear it? I hope you did, because it explained everything you're looking at. And that's that. I love sci-fi that doesn't hold your hand. It's all there, and it makes it so much more rewatchable. You can get lost in this world.
1000%. I agree with you. I love anything that's going to take the source material that is ridiculous. At the end of the day, this is a ridiculous space opera, and treat it serious. It's amazing. Like I was watching X-Men 1 today. I'm going to go on a non sequitur. I'm watching X-Men 1 today, and I was just like, oh shit, this was made before there was a Marvel formula where everything had to have a joke. Serious joke. And they treated the source material very serious. And
on that note,
Denis Villeneuve is fantastic. What?
Can I ask you a question on that topic?
Ask me whatever you want, baby.
What happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
Same thing that happens to everything else.
But again, it wasn't a pattern of jokes when we got there. It was just one really bad joke plopped in out of the middle of nowhere. Oh my God. I still love you, Halle Berry, but Jesus.
Oh shit.
Make
me feel good. I know. I'm sorry. Make me feel good. I was gonna say Halle Berry gave us that gift of make me feel good in Monsters Ball, but
Hey,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
Oscar
Sorry,
night.
Cliff.
For it.
It's
Don't
Oscar
get-
night.
don't-
DJ just Villeneuve writing in front of our eyes right here, giving us tying it all in.
Dune 1 picked up 6 Oscars. If Dune 1 picked up 6 Oscars, I expect this one to pick up all the Oscars, including Best Foreign Film, and it was not even a foreign film. There's nothing to change the category. It's set in a foreign place. Give them the Oscar for that too.
It should be nominated
best
as
movie
best.
that should have been animated.
Yeah,
Exactly.
best animated short.
Shout out to Studio Ghibli for taking home the win for Best Animated Film.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else specifically from this movie you guys want to touch on, hit on, bring up, kind of dive into anything that stood out that we hadn't hit?
I'll give we need more of these movies, man. Like that's like stop. This dude has been a writer director for decades and decades and decades. He's accomplished. He knows how to make movies. Like these are the people you hire to make these epics. Like people that have records and show that they have the ability to do this. If there's a message to Hollywood, it's like stop overlooking like that writing is a real skill set. Like screenwriting is not just something anyone can do. And I'm not saying not anyone can get there, but you have to put in the work. You got to put in the 10,000 hours. You have to have a resume. You can't say, oh, I wrote one episode of The Mandalorian, so I can do this. It's like, first off, it's a different medium. You're not writing a television show. You're writing a feature. Those are different things. So look at these dudes. Like, look at the pedigree. And put these guys, put Villeneuve on these projects, like where you want, kind of pointing fingers at studios right now. But when you want these movies to do well, like go get the people that make these movies phenomenal. And we need more of these. So even like to in essence apologize for any of the critiques I have of this film tonight. Like I said, my fan review, this is 10 out of 10. This is what movie theaters need. This is what we need. And like, we need more of this. Like whatever he's doing next, I'm going to be there. Like if you go look at his last 6 movies, this dude is a rock star. Sicario, Arrival, 2049, Dune 1, Dune 2. Like, dude, get out of this guy's way. Let him do what he wants to do and stop.
He clearly got out of his way with Arrival.
It's at like 157 million for the weekend total domestic, and like 267 million. 365 million worldwide.
I was gonna say is quickly approaching 400 million for the world total, which is excellent. And as I said earlier this evening, I said in 2 weeks, its world total is already surpassing the total for Black Adam, which I'm not using that to slight Black Adam. I'm only using it to say its momentum is very good.
It had a less than 50% drop. So it had a less than 50% drop week over week. So that's pretty good for a movie nowadays.
Paul just actually hit on the actual way like the industry looks at movies and to find out like what their actual like quality is. When you're dropping off 60, 70, 80%,
bad.
It's the worst movie ever made. And that's just like, even if people want to fight about it and, reviewers and media, whatever they want to say, when your movie is 50% retention you are talking about.
It only took a 44% drop from week 1. That's phenomenal. From the last 2 years.
Kung Fu Panda stepping on its toes in week 2, which is like a massively successful franchise.
And what makes that so obvious? Where are the other family films right now? They're not. So Kung Fu Panda is freaking filling that void really well. So I see that's why I came in and stepped on its toes. But still, like, I think this movie's going to do well. I'm glad it's doing well. I do think the studio actually took a little bit of a risk with this film because the chapter 1 came out during COVID, and that was a real tumultuous time.
Yeah, it was screamed to home. Screen to home. So they had no real data or metrics on it. You cannot judge like how something performs streaming without it would perform in box office. Just ask Jack Snyder.
Yeah, and it's funny because I thought that Dune 1 went straight to streaming. And I regret not.
It opened in the theaters and streamed at the same time at the exact
time. Right, that year where everything that Warner Brothers had for that entire year, all 17 films, Mortal Kombat, Suicide Squad, Dune, they all dropped on Max the same day as theaters.
Right.
I regret not seeing part 1 in the theater. No, but overall, I thought this was a masterpiece. I think it's a milestone film. I don't think anything is going to top this in 2024. From a cinematic perspective, I think this is the movie to beat in 2024, and it's only March, which is insane to me.
Now, I'm sure that I will probably walk out of Godzilla X Kong with like a bigger high, but it's a different high.
It's different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't compare those two types of experiences and feelings because you're just going like that's a fan service event. This is just this shocked me to my core. I've said it a few times already. This was like Ridley Scott 20 years ago, where if you see his name on a film, you know you have to go as soon as you can. You know you're going to be rewarded for it. You know you're going to be impressed with everything you see. There's going to be hundreds of people strewn across a field in full wardrobe, all of them doing their part, these spanning shots, and just it's going to take you there. And this film actually took me there, and I got lost in the sauce.
So can I ask a question?
The spice.
Please.
Lost in the spice. Does this movie crack like your top 25 movies of all time list or anything like that? Where does this movie rank like that?
Like I'm on cloud 9 right now, like still from it. You know what I mean? Like I've
only been on cloud 4, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've been on cloud 9 from it, and so it's hard to say. Like right now, it's an easy yes to say. Like in top 25, easy yes to say because the emotions that it left me with. Like I had all of them. Like I actually felt all the emotions both time I watched it, and the second it was over, I was craving more. Craving it. When a film makes you run to the expanded media that you can get a hold of, like I want to go look at the books. I want to see what they have to offer in the comic. I want more about this immediately. Like that's like when I get going. It seems like my top stuff is always these giant sci-fi film projects, whether it be the Terminator universe, the Alien universe, the Avatar stuff, Dune. Like that's just where I go. Is these massive sci-fi epic worlds to get lost in, and this fit that. We haven't had something like this in a long since they invented Avatar in 2013. We haven't had like a hardcore sci-fi universe to really feel like you can get invested into on this level.
Agreed. I loved it. I think it's one of the best, easily one of the best sci-fi movies, like you said, since Avatar dropped. And I'm not a huge Avatar fan like that, but this thing, like watching it 3 hours or close to 3 hours, and when it ended, I was just like, what the fuck? That's it? I need another hour and a half of this. Like, that's a testament to how brilliant the movie is from a fan perspective.
Yeah. I'll say
I
this.
think it's also a testament to the source material. I mean, these people brought it to life with their own vision, and that is amazing. But if you didn't have this wild, politically driven, social commentary, world built saga to go from.
But we don't read books, B.
I know, but at the same time, like I'm not going to sit here I'm not going to be tooting everybody's horn over here. You know, when they got the source material to work off of.
That's true, but I don't care. But you still gotta bring it to life in a fantastic way, right? Like they failed,
of course,
and before numerous times. But Denis Villeneuve is just amazing. Like John said, from Prisoners all the way up onto Dune. He's whatever, how many movies he's done? 8, whatever. He's 8 for 8. Even though I didn't love Blade 2049, but it looked amazing. Blade Runner.
I did. And it's funny talking about how he likes to do the less dialogue because Gosling had almost like none, and he's your main.
But Prisoners,
he lets you sit in a theater and watch a movie. You don't need to hear it, right? And that's one of the shortcomings of bad writing nowadays that people aren't aware of. It's like when you drop in exactly what your character is thinking or what the audience needs to hear instead of just letting them watch it. Like you're not writing a great screenplay or you're not writing a great movie. It's like we have eyeballs and we're also not idiots. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to walk into a room and say, this is what's happening. Like, you know, it's just a hallmark of poor writing. And the art form of writing feature films is being a screenwriter is kind of not what it was 15, 20 years ago. There's
like how Becker says it comically all the time. Oh, great. My favorite joke, the one where you have to explain it to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so here's here's why, if like to unpack why that happens more and more these days, is it used to be that you would write feature films and you were a feature film writer. This is 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And then you would write TV. But when budgets blew up and they just blurred the lines and your names got really big and you could be, this guy who gets to do Star Wars movies when in reality you're really a TV guy, it's a different medium, man. So what happens is you end up putting a lot of exposition and dialogue. You end up writing a lot of dialogue heavy stuff, and it's just not the same medium. So
I just
the
call
lines are blurred, man. The funny thing is, if you look behind the curtain a little bit and you go, wait, who wrote this movie? And you think it drags a little bit or it's not as great as you think, and then you look and oftentimes it'll be a TV writer. And I'm not knocking TV writers by any means. Like, there's phenomenal, absolutely brilliant TV writers, but sometimes when they do that crossover, they don't realize that it's slightly a different thing. So you can't do it. You can't approach.
Man, fuck these TV writers, B. Say it with your chest.
No, it's not that. It's not that. Just look at JJ with the Star Wars trilogy, man. You leave loose ends out there because you're setting up the next thing. It's like, that's not how you construct a movie, right? That's how
First
you construct
off,
a TV show.
how you don't construct a Star Wars film is go into a trilogy project and you don't plan out the trilogy as a group. You're having little meetings and stuff, and you just leave your movie dangling, give an unfinished script to the next dude for him to run off with it. Like, no. And I'm not going to blame JJ for that. I'm going to blame Kathleen Kennedy and every other person of position of power in the freaking Disney hierarchy that should be like, JJ, we need you for everything.
Hang on.
Kathleen Kennedy gonna get you.
Hang on. I watched episode 8 with Ryan at the WGA, and after the movie ended, we asked him, I shouldn't even be saying this, but we asked him what happened, and he goes, well, I was asking JJ for the script the entire time, and he never gave me anything, so I didn't know what I was writing a sequel to something that I didn't know what happened prior to that point.
He should have watched episode 7. That would have helped.
It wasn't. He was shooting it while
he was shooting it at the same time. Like, dude, it was a really terrible thing. And by the way, to your point, guy, I've never heard that version of the story. I've heard the cleaned up one that I just told you, that he had an incomplete script to work with.
Okay. At the WGA, watching this movie with Ryan Johnson, after it, we did a Q&A with him, and that was the question that was asked. And he literally said, I was asking for a script and I could never get one. So they're shooting those movies.
That's not on him. That's not on JJ. That's on Disney, the company that owns the script.
Yeah.
Fair, totally fair too. But
it's on. Well, it's not on Ryan because he's definitely the victim in that story. But it is on everybody. The studio's got to make sure that things are moving. And if someone is like, yo, I'm working on part 2 of 3 over here, and I don't have the latest script, someone should be making moves on that. But
who says go ahead and film in that scenario? You shouldn't be able to
they're
film.
Wrong. They're so wrong.
Yeah.
Someone telling him to keep going.
I do want to say, go back to Dune for a second though. Before we were DJ, you asked about this movie and top 25 status. Here's what I'll say about Dune Part 2. When I get asked where do I think of how do I define a good movie? And I tell people, when I'm watching the film and I'm not thinking about it or breaking it down or analyzing it, that's when I think the movie is awesome. And I will say, as soon as Paul, you find out that he's part Harkonnen, dude, my brain just turned off, and I was drooling in my seat watching the rest of the movie. And I was like, oh shit, that hadn't happened in a long time. Even Godzilla -1, I was analyzing that stuff and I was looking at stuff. I was like when his girlfriend gets blown away, I'm like, go fucking look for her, dude. Stop being an idiot. What the fuck are you doing? Go.
See, and you know what's funny? Because I know so much, but not perfectly, but because I have so much Dune information already in my head, I wasn't getting my mind blown. Godzilla -1 was blowing my mind.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
That movie blew my mind too.
Yeah, but I thought it was great, man. I like I said, I think way more movies like this. If we can get, let's hope there's one. Let's hope, dude. I hope Deadpool 3 does this. I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I can't wait for that.
I think Deadpool 3 will do this, but not do this, right? We're not going to leave there and be thinking about the cinematic masterpiece it was, but we will be thinking that we had a really great time and
it's
that it's good. You know?
I mean, but that's not what that movie is going to be, though. It's not a. So
no,
yeah,
right, it's not. It should be better than a lot of stuff we've been seeing.
As far as
like
for a third one, I did see where they're waiting for two things. They wanted to see a financial milestone that they're looking for as a studio get past, and they're also waiting on Denny to finish the script before they announce Messiah. I've heard both of those things. How far along he is in that script or what, I don't know. From what I understand, like he was working on something else between this and Messiah, which would be part 3. But technically, the third movie, the second book, which would be the second book, would fill up just one film.
So, just think about this, right? With Denis Villeneuve's acumen, what if he would have wrote and directed the Eternals?
Oh my God! We might have got that bisexual spice orgy Cliff's talking about.
We were already pretty close. You know, it's a shame because Eternals is another one where there's a lot there for people who are looking for it, right? Like the whole Babylon thing. If you're familiar with that mythology, their portrayal of it was fantastic and accurate and beautiful. But if you came there for a Marvel movie, that was just going, you know? So, I mean, I thought the movie was a fair attempt, but, you know, did not deliver. I wonder if he would have, you're right. I do think I would like to see him tackle the Eternals. Hey, you know what? Maybe when he's wrapped up with this, maybe they could call him in.
I'll be dead honest with you. I don't want to see anybody that I enjoy or care about whatsoever get near Disney right now.
I agree 100%.
Hang on, dude. I'll give you. I said this. I think I said this to you, Mark, in a chat or something. You want the first $3 billion movie? Like you want that? You want Avatar to get smoked? Literally,
personally, but depends on what it's by.
No, you literally make a public statement. Disney, episode 7, 8, and 9 don't exist. We're gonna do 7. Villeneuve's coming in to write and direct this thing, dude. 2 years later, that is the first $3 billion movie.
Yeah, if they took a hard stance and came out as a company and apologized to an entire fan base and said we are scrapping these as fan fiction and redoing episode 7, yeah, I think you would like just a company making that statement. I don't even know if like people would come and support him even now on that level. To be honest with you, they've jaded so many people. Like it's beyond a general audience thing. Like they've literally infected the general audience where they don't even want to really mess with Disney on that level.
I agree with you 100%. But if you come out, you say, "Hey, we made a huge mistake. This person's out." Somebody that was making decisions that was holding us hostage or making
that's the trick. Your public apology has to come with a public shaming of a certain individual that everyone's waiting for a resignation for years now. Until that happens, nothing will change from a public standpoint.
Get Villeneuve, get Christopher Nolan. Say either one of those dudes are doing episode 7.
Villeneuve also said he's not stepping into anyone else's work ever again.
Yeah. Until you back up $50 million and put it on his lap, and then he might say
he might feel differently.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, dude. The answer is always money, man. The answer is always money.
Money, my boy.
Let's run this giveaway real quick. So what I've got is Dune, House Harkonnen, which is backstory stuff. Like if you remember in the movie, there's a very subtle statement that's made by Gurney that said that Leto saved me from the slave fields of Harkonnen. Like it goes back to even when Gurney's in the slave fields, all kinds of crazy context. It really builds on and adds to the all the context and little details of the movie. It's really fantastic. There's numerous ones of these Boom Studios expansions for the Dune stuff via comic. There's a House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and more. But this is one I got here. So we're going to get ready to spin this thing. If you haven't already, you got just a couple more seconds until I change tabs here to run this. We got 13 people entered, 16 people watching. I appreciate everybody coming, hanging out, and chit-chatting this movie. I can't wait to see what happens next. So let's spin this bad boy.
Good luck, everyone.
And the winner is...
Stop on me!
Yes. Wow, there you go.
That could have been turned any more perfect, bro.
Wait, oh my God, he used his voice to make it win. Oh my God.
That's going to be clipped for sure.
Oh, yes. Holy shit, I'm about to start.
Absolutely wicked. Dude, that was amazing. DJ, I'll get that sent to you one day.
I'm actually excited to read that, sir, but no rush on sending it.
You'll legitimately like it. I've got
Holy shit.
a little bit of it. I got two of them. Like I said, I got one for myself and one to give away. It's really good.
That voice shit actually works, bro.
Yeah, it was nuts. So it's already after 10 o'clock. I'm going to encourage anybody that's still hanging out to go check out Trev and Mike over on Trev the Shipping Guru's channel. I'm going to wrap it up for the evening. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm tired. I appreciate all you guys coming to hang out. Paul's got the DC Comics deep dive that'll drop every Monday at 10 a.m. on his channel. This week, Paul and myself are talking The Batman First Night by Dan Jurgens, a brand new black label prestige format masterpiece that you gotta check it out. Of what you're missing out on, then go get it. DJ, what do you got going on this week?
Stuff, videos, YouTube.
Nice.
I guess hold on. Wait. In the mix next Friday, 9 p.m. We're gonna have a special guest, and then we're gonna do a bunch of the C3 announcements. So make sure you stick around for that.
First reveal of 2024 happening Friday night.
And don't forget Guest IQ this week as well on Wednesday night. We have S182 and we have Beckerman Likes Comics.
Cliff on Comics. What is going on? The multifaceted Cliff on Comics. The everyman. He's everywhere.
Sometimes. 8 p.m. Monday, Council of Comics, New Keys, Hot Comics. C Bizzle is joining us. Our good friend.
He's actually the leader of the council now. He was voted up. And Tuesday, where are you going to be?
He's the captain now.
He's the adopted kid. Tuesday, I'm going to be with J-Man and Scotty Vaughn, and we're going to be tackling more issues of Dazzler on his channel. Thursday, I hope I am back on track with some Crisis Quest trivia, but the 28th will be my special episode, and someone possibly on this channel is joining.
Are you looking for more guests for Crisis Quest?
Yes.
So if you're interested in hopping on Cliff's Crisis Quest, which is literally a Jeopardy formatted show, it's a
amazing.
blast. Like, you can have fun, you can attempt to win some prizes, and then Cliff will never send them to you.
That is
true. It's still fun.
Sounds familiar.
It's still fun. So reach out to Cliff.
I want you to know. Wait. What Brian got the first participation prize. Brian has received his participation prize.
Bro, I was the first winner and I didn't even receive shit.
I know, because I keep trying to make it special for you, and I realized I gotta just stop trying to make it special.
No, you're good. I can wait. It ain't like I'm gonna open it anytime anyways.
Oh,
is it the 24th? Is it the 24th or the 28th?
The 28th is what I have you booked for.
Oh, so I can ignore the 24th message then.
Wait, did I say the 24th by accident? Yep, I mean the 28th. Yeah, ignore the 24th, make it the 28th.
Sorry for putting you on blast, all on YouTube.
J-Man, I wish you were here for the talk, because this was a panel of fun film critique. Mm-hmm. J-Man gave this movie a 5 out of 10, but J-Man sniffs spice and not the good guy.
What? A 5 out of 10?
Yeah. All of his complaints came from what was lacking from books, and I don't know.
And again, if you're a tremendous fan of the books, that's going to be a valid thing for you. You know,
it's two separate things, though.
Well, he also didn't like Timothy Chalamet's performance. He
what?
he didn't like a lot. Like I have fun arguing with J-Man because we disagree on stuff. When we disagree
We
on stuff,
disagree on almost everything.
fun
You
to
know,
talk
my
about.
God, my battle for Alan Scott is never ending.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with a lot with J-Man. I just focus on our disagreements because there's a lot more fun in that.
All right.
By the way, so far, Oppenheimer is the big winner at the Oscars so far.
Dude, what was it called? Poor Things was sweeping early.
Poor Things.
Poor Things got a lot of the technical stuff like costuming and all other stuff, but actor, supporting actor, director all went to Oppenheimer.
Good. Let's see. Oppenheimer got Best Director, Best Actor for Cillian Murphy, Best Song went to Barbie, Best Score went to Oppenheimer, Best Sound went to The Zone of Interest, Cinematography that's a layup. That was Oppenheimer.
Supporting actor went to Robert Downey Jr.
Let's go.
Yo, did you see in the beginning of the Oscars that Jimmy Kimmel made a cocaine joke about Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah,
he was going like that.
On the nose.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. It was mean, but hilarious.
No, and I had a blast actually hanging out with J-Man on a Dune panel with him, and I completely get where he's coming from. Like, this Dune movie is to him what Thor is to me. Like, I'm too familiar. Thor is one thing in my head. Like, I can't separate how Thor. Like, I've Thor's been the same thing in my head for 30 years before it was subverted on film. I can't get with it. Like, I get it's a different thing. It doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? So I get like, so that's how like Dune is for J-Man. Like, I guess he's like one of the 7 people at the Dune Con every year, and he just can't stand it. I'm just kidding, J-Man.
Yeah,
Do they hold it like in the middle of the desert somewhere?
If they don't, that's a crime.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand that, but to each his own.
Yeah, this is definitely an improvement. There's times when I think cinema improves on things, and the Dune world is wildly insane, wildly crazy. You can make this movie like from 100 years from now. If they remake this movie 3 more times, you can come at it 3 different angles and make it each time you do it still a fantastic way of telling this story, because none of the characters were subverted, none of the points of the movie are ignored, nothing of like important value is left out. Like, people are like, where's the Spacing Guild? Like, bro, you don't fucking need them for this to work. Like, if you can work them in there, cool. They only take up moments here and there anyways. They don't play key parts and shit. That's like saying, why didn't you show me the engine on the ship? Because I don't fucking need to see it.
Yeah.
Different mediums, man.
There's an engine and it works.
He said, okay, I have 100 comments that agree with me. I love you, J-Man. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I'll sit here and ramble all night. I appreciate everybody coming out. Be sure to check out, in all sincerity, check out J-Man77 on YouTube. He did a fantastic hangout as well, where we talked, we argued, we got into books, we got into stuff well beyond this film. We spent more time talking about the universe itself than necessarily the film. It was a really, really fun time hanging out with him. But yeah, check out all the people's channels, do all the stuff and things. Until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.